All right, so this week we are covering some issues in ethics and multiculturalism assessment. Um, I would say there's several really important ethical issues I want you to ponder this week. One of the most important ones, I think, when we look at ethical issues is confidentiality. I used to work at a Jewish social service agency where my official title was the psychodiagnostic counselor. And now it's a mouthful. Basically, it means I was the testing guy. So I did IQ tests, achievement tests, and whenever there was a diagnosis that people weren't quite sure about, I could step in and help. Um, and in my area in Dallas, there are a number of Jewish schools, but not all of them have dedicated school counselors. So I'd come in and deal with those issues. And there'd be a lot of concerns when parents got testing at the agency. Are you going to give this directly to the schools? Who's this go to? They were concerned about information and how it might affect their child's future. So that's something really important to discuss is what are the limits of confidentiality? And it's going to depend also on who initiates that. For example, if you're doing forensic counseling and it's court ordered, then confidentiality is going to be quite a bit different. Um, or if you're doing it in the jail. And also, there's going to be this sense of what kind of different assessments might be used. As well, when you're working with kids, there's some concern about who all is going to be told and what are they going to be told. Because the information can be really difficult to understand depending on what kind of data you provide. Um, so, that is one really important ethical issue, but put yourself in the client's shoes. Imagine you're having a testing battery done on you. What are questions you might have for your counselor in terms of ethics? Um, and whenever you're looking at ethics, I really like to focus on Kitchener and King's 5 principles: autonomy, beneficence, non-malfeasance, which is not doing bad, um, justice, fidelity, autonomy, beneficence, malfeasance, justice. Okay, that's 5. Couldn't remember. Um, and so, looking at those and how does the actions or how might actions either achieve those goals or contradict those principles? As well, we're talking about multiculturalism this week. And so one thing that I think is important when we look at that is looking at the actual data in the instruments. You can generally see the number of people of different ethnic groups or racial groups that use the instrument when you look at the manual or when you look at reviews. Um, but there's also an idea of assessment's not just tests, and so how can we be multiculturally sensitive? And this can be anything from, working at Jewish agency. Um, was it acceptable to have the parent in there when I interview the child? Or was that something required, or was that something that there was some wiggle room on? I generally like to interview people by themselves, but I did have to be flexible. What sort of questions might be offensive at beginning an interview, and how do you handle that? And language issues. How do you deal with it when a client doesn't speak your language? This is something I run into all the time. As on my weekends, I work at a free clinic where most of the clients speak Spanish, and so I have to use a translator, and I have to be very careful that I use an actual translator and not use their children as a translator, although that's frequently suggested. So, just some things to ponder this week, and I'll see you all in the discussion boards.